Nervous to meet my fiancé's reclusive billionaire dad, I handed my burrito to a homeless man at the gate. In the dining hall, he sat at the head and said, "Glad you're here, kid." I stand in front of the mirror in a new blue dress that I bought especially for today's meeting with Blake's father. My hands are shaking as I apply mascara for the third time. The phone rings. "Listen, sweetheart." Blake's voice sounds tense. "We'll have to reschedule." Dad unexpectedly went on a business trip. I put the mascara on the dressing table and look at my reflection. Again. How many times has this happened in the last 2 years? "Blake, we agreed on this a month ago. I took time off work. Why are you so upset? We'll find another time. Dad's just really busy." I sit on the edge of the bed. The blue dress now seems too bright, too festive for a normal evening at home. "When is another time, Blake?" "I don't know. We'll see." "Listen, I'll be back late today. I have a meeting with investors. Don't wait up for me." After the beeps, I sit silently for a long time. It's always been this way. 3 years ago, when we met at the gym, everything seemed different. I remember that day in detail. I was trying to figure out a new leg machine when a tall, dark-haired man in expensive workout clothes approached me. "Let me help you," he said with a smile that seemed sincere. "I'm Blake." "Marley," I replied, feeling myself blush. He was attentive. He invited me for coffee after training, asked about my job in accounting, listened to stories about my mother who lives in a neighboring town. He gave me flowers for no reason and told me I was the most beautiful woman in his life. "You work too hard," he said, massaging my shoulders after a hard day at the office. "A beautiful woman like you shouldn't be so tired." "I like my job," I replied. "Besides, I have to make a living somehow." "You don't have to if you have me," Blake laughed and kissed my ears. 6 months later, I moved into his apartment, a large penthouse in the city center with panoramic windows and expensive furniture. Blake said his father had helped with the purchase. "You shouldn't live in that shack anymore," he said, hugging me. "My girlfriend deserves better." "It's not a shack, it's my apartment," I laughed, and I was quite comfortable there. "Marley, look around. You have everything here. A jacuzzi, a terrace overlooking the city, a kitchen with the latest appliances. Why do you need that one-room apartment on the outskirts?" The first few months were like a fairy tale. Blake took me to expensive restaurants, bought me beautiful clothes, introduced me to his friends. I felt special, chosen. At parties, I was introduced as Blake's girlfriend, and it sounded proud. "Look how she laughs," he would say to his friends, holding me by the waist. "She makes me feel alive." His friends were nice, but somehow they always made it clear that I wasn't quite part of their world. When I talked about my work, they nodded with polite smiles, but quickly changed the subject to topics I was unfamiliar with. Golf at prestigious clubs, vacations on private yachts, investment opportunities. Then the little comments started. "Marley, your friend Carrie is kind of vulgar, don't you think?" he said one evening after we met her at a cafe. "She's just fun," I defended my friend. "Fun?" Blake raised an eyebrow. "She talked about her romances in front of me." "That's inappropriate. I don't want my girlfriend hanging out with people like that. But she's my best friend from college." "Marley, you're growing up. Sometimes you have to leave behind the people who drag you down. Carrie is stuck in teenage thinking. She's jealous of you, you know?" I started seeing Carrie less often. When she called, I often didn't answer, and then I would send a short message apologizing for being busy. Then I almost stopped. A year later, Blake started criticizing the way I dressed. "That skirt is too short for the office," he would say, looking me over before I left for work. "People might get the wrong idea. But I like this skirt, and it's not short at all. Marley, I'm worried about you. Men are looking at you the wrong way. I just want to protect you. Besides, if we get married, you'll be seen as part of the Thornfield family. You have to look the part. I bought longer skirts and more modest blouses." Blake smiled and said I looked great, that I was becoming more elegant and refined. "See? Much better." Now you really look like a lady." When I wanted to go to my mother's for the weekend, he hesitated. "Again? You were there a month ago. Maybe we should spend time together. I see you so little because of work." But I rarely see her, and she herself. "Marley, your mom interferes too much in our relationship. She constantly bombards you with questions about me, about our plans. It stresses me out. I'm not ready for that kind of pressure. She's just interested in my life." That's normal. Normal, but not to that extent. She asks you questions you can't answer, and it upsets you. I see how upset you are when you come back from visiting her. Maybe he was right. Mom really did ask often when we were getting married, why I still hadn't met his family, and I really didn't know what to say. I visited my mother less and less often. When she called, I tried not to mention the problems in my relationship, talking instead about the good things. The gifts from Blake, the restaurants he took me to, our beautiful apartment. 2 years ago, on my 28th birthday, Blake proposed. A rooftop restaurant, musicians, a huge diamond ring that sparkled in the candlelight. "Be my wife, Marley," he said, kneeling on one knee in front of a restaurant full of people. I cried with happiness and said yes over and over again. People around us applauded, waiters brought champagne. Blake kissed me and whispered that I was the luckiest woman on earth. "Finally," I said through my tears, "finally, I'm going to be your wife." "You've always been in my heart," he replied. But the wedding kept getting postponed. "I need time to organize everything properly," Blake said a month after the engagement. "It has to be perfect. A wedding of our caliber can't be organized in a month or two. Besides, I want my dad to like you first." "Why haven't you introduced me to him yet? We've been together for 2 years. My dad is very demanding, Marley. He doesn't approve of any of my girlfriends. He says they're not right for our family. I don't want him to say something hurtful to you." "But I'm different, right?" "Of course, sweetheart. You're perfect. It just takes time." Dad needs to get used to the idea that I'm serious. A year passed, then another. I tried not to think about the fact that all my friends were either already married or at least acquainted with their husbands' parents. When my colleagues at the office asked about the wedding date, I smiled and said we were still deciding. "Blake, when are we finally going to get married?" I asked one evening as we watched TV. "Don't pressure me, Marley. You know how complicated things are with my dad. He's still not ready to accept you. But why? What am I doing wrong? Nothing. It's just that my dad wants me to marry someone from my circle. You know, someone rich, educated, with a good family. He thinks it's important for business." The words stung my heart. What's wrong with my family? Nothing, sweetie. I love you just the way you are. But Dad is old school. He needs time to get used to the idea that I want to marry a normal girl. A normal girl. Those words spun around in my head for days. A normal girl from a normal family who works as a normal accountant. Maybe he was right? I tried to improve myself. I enrolled in French classes, started reading books about art, changed my hairstyle to something more elegant. I bought more expensive clothes and tried to speak more softly and restrainedly. Maybe then Blake's father would finally want to meet me. "You're trying too hard," Blake said when I showed him my French certificate. "Just be yourself." "But you said your father—" "I said he needed time. I didn't say you had to change yourself, although, of course, it's good that you're developing." But did I even know who I really was? After 3 years with Blake, I had become so accustomed to adapting to his desires that I had almost forgotten my own. When he said the cafe was too noisy, we went to another one. When he didn't like the music, I changed the radio station. When he got tired of my stories about work, I kept quiet. Today was the long-awaited meeting. I had been preparing for it for a week, rereading articles about the Thornfield family's construction empire, studying their history, even buying a book on etiquette for important meetings. "I'm so nervous," I told Blake in the morning. "Don't worry. Just be yourself, but be reserved. And please don't tell Dad too much about your work. He may not understand the specifics. And now I'm sitting here in a blue dress I no longer need, wondering if the day will ever come when I finally become part of Blake's family. Is his father really as scary as his son says? Or maybe Blake just doesn't want me to meet him. The phone rings again. Mom. Hi, sweetie. How did the meeting with Blake's father go? It's been postponed, I say briefly. Again? Marley, tell me honestly. Are you happy? A long pause. I look at myself in the mirror and see a woman in a beautiful dress who doesn't know how to answer a simple question. It's settled, Blake says, clicking the phone. Saturday at 5. My heart leaps into my throat. Finally, after 2 years of waiting. Did Dad agree? He agreed. He said he's curious to see the girl who made me wait so long to get married. A strange choice of words, but I don't pay any attention to it. I'm too excited that it's finally happening. What should I wear? What should I talk about? Should I bring a gift? Blake laughs and kisses me on the forehead. Calm down, baby. Just be yourself. Well, the best version of yourself. And please don't mention that your mom worked as a cleaning lady. Dad won't understand. But my mom worked as a cleaning lady to give me an education. That deserves respect. Of course it does. But why emphasize that? Better to talk about your work in accounting, about how responsible and reliable you are. The next week is spent in frantic preparation. I buy a new dress, an elegant black one with long sleeves to look serious and respectable. I spend almost my entire salary, but I tell myself that it's an investment in our future. I read everything I can find about the Thornfield family. Russell Thornfield built his empire from scratch, starting with a small construction company 30 years ago. Now his firm builds skyscrapers across the country. Articles describe him as a tough but fair businessman who never forgets his working-class roots. He respects people who have achieved something on their own, I tell Blake over breakfast. How do you know that? I've read about him. He grew up in a poor family and built everything with his own hands. Blake looks at me strangely. Don't look like you've studied his file. It might scare him. On Friday evening, I rehearse my conversation in front of the mirror. How to introduce myself, what to ask, how to behave at the table. Blake says his father has invited us to dinner at his country house. It's an honor, he explains. Dad rarely invites people to the house. Usually, all business meetings take place in the office or in restaurants. What if he doesn't like me? He'll like you. Just don't try too hard and remember, talk less, listen more. Dad likes to be listened to. On Saturday morning, I wake up feeling nauseous with excitement. I can't eat anything, just drink a little coffee. I put on a new dress, do my makeup discreetly, and tie my hair back in a low bun. I look at myself in the mirror. I look like a secretary or an assistant manager. Maybe that's what I need. You look perfect, Blake says, kissing me on the cheek. Dad will be thrilled. The drive to the country estate takes an hour. Blake drives his silver Porsche, listens to jazz, and seems calm. I twirl my small purse in my hands and try not to think about what will happen if everything goes wrong. Tell me more about your father, I ask. What exactly? Well, what are his hobbies? What is he like? What doesn't he like? Marley, you're worrying too much. Dad's a normal guy. He likes good food, intelligent conversation, and respects honesty. He doesn't like hypocrisy and arrogance. What if he asks about our wedding plans? Let's just say we're still working out the details. Everything will be fine. 20 minutes before the appointed time, we pull up to a huge wrought iron gate. Behind it, we can see an oak-lined driveway and, in the distance, a huge colonial-style house. It looks like the set of a movie about rich Americans. Blake presses the intercom button. It's us, he says briefly. The gate slowly opens. As we drive in, I see a man in dirty clothes sitting by the gate. He is sitting on the ground, leaning against the fence, holding a cardboard sign that says, "Hungry. Please help." Blake, stop, I say. What? There's a homeless man there. Let's give him something. Marley, we can't be late for Dad. Besides, it's not our problem. I look at the man in the rearview mirror. He is thin, his hair is gray and unkempt, but his face doesn't look aggressive or dangerous. Just tired. I have a burrito, I say, taking a foil-wrapped sandwich out of my bag. I bought it on the way, but I'm too nervous to eat it. Marley, Blake, it'll only take a minute. Please. He sighs and stops the car. I get out and approach the man. He looks up. His eyes are gray-blue, intelligent, with deep wrinkles around them. Good afternoon, I say, holding out the burrito. It's chicken and vegetables. I hope you like it. Thank you, ma'am, he says quietly, accepting the food. That's very kind of you. Be careful. And good luck. I return to the car. Blake looks at me with a puzzled expression. All done, I say, fastening my seatbelt. You're strange, he says, but he doesn't sound judgmental, more surprised. We pull up to the house. It's even bigger than it looked from a distance. 3 stories, columns, huge windows. 2 black SUVs with drivers are parked at the entrance. Dad likes things to be impressive, Blake explains as he parks at the entrance. The massive doors open, and we are greeted by a woman in an elegant suit. Obviously an assistant or housekeeper. Good afternoon. Mr. Thornfield is waiting for you in the dining room. I follow her through the wide corridors, looking at the paintings on the walls and the expensive furniture. Everything looks like a museum and a little cold, but very elegant. Don't be so nervous, Blake whispers, touching my hand. I can see you're shaking. We enter a huge dining room with a long wooden table for 12 people. The walls are hung with portraits, and a crystal chandelier hangs from the ceiling. At the table, in the place of honor, sits a man in a dark blue suit, and it's the same man I just gave a burrito to. My heart stops for a moment. I look at him, and he looks at me, and I see something like satisfaction in his eyes. I'm glad you're finally here, child, he says, rising from the table. Blake freezes beside me. Dad? What does that mean? It means, Blake, that your girlfriend passed a test she didn't even know she was taking. I can't say a word. I just stand there trying to understand what's going on. Russell Thornfield comes up to me and extends his hand in greeting. Now, in a suit, he looks completely different, confident, dignified, authoritative. But his eyes are the same, intelligent gray-blue eyes that now sparkle with amusement. Allow me to introduce myself properly. Russell Thornfield. It's very nice to finally meet you, Marley. I don't understand. I finally find my voice. Please, have a seat. I'll explain everything. I sit down on the chair he offers me. Blake sits down opposite me, his face a mixture of confusion and irritation. Dad, what kind of nonsense is this? Why were you pretending to be homeless? It's not crazy, it's a test, Russell replies calmly, pouring me some water from a glass jug. You know, Blake, I've already met your 3 previous girlfriends. All 3 walked past me while I was sitting in the same place looking the same. None of them even looked my way. But that's not fair, Blake explodes. You didn't warn me. What's the point of warning you? Then it wouldn't be a test, it would be a performance. Russell turns back to me. Marley, you gave me your food without knowing who I was. Not to impress me, not to get anything in return, just because you saw a person who needed help. I felt sorry for him, I say quietly. Exactly. And that says more about you than any words at dinner parties. Blake twists his napkin nervously. Dad, it was humiliating. For me and for Marley. Humiliating? Russell raises an eyebrow. You know what's humiliating? When your girlfriend can't find a minute to look at a person who needs help. It's when she's so preoccupied with her appearance and impression that she doesn't notice anyone around her. But my previous girlfriends didn't know. That's the point, son. A person's true character is revealed when they don't know they're being watched. I realize that the trembling is gradually subsiding. Russell speaks calmly, without aggression, and there is logic in his words. Mr. Thornfield, I say, why is this so important to you? He smiles and the expression softens his face, making him look kinder. You can call me Russell. It's important because I grew up poor myself. I know what it's like to be ignored, to be treated as if you're invisible. I need to know that my son's girlfriend won't lose her humanity, even when she becomes part of our family. Dad, you could have just talked to Marley, gotten to know her better. Blake talking his words. Actions are truth. Your girlfriend showed me her truth today at the gate. The housekeeper comes in and sets out plates of food. It smells delicious, but I'm still too upset to feel hungry. I understand that you're in shock, Russell says, cutting the meat, but I hope you're not angry with me. No, I say honestly. I'm just trying to understand everything. There's nothing complicated to understand here. I've been watching my son choose girls for many years. Beautiful, smart, but all of them selfish without exception. I wanted to make sure that this time it would be different. Blake puts down his fork. So you didn't like any of the previous girls because of this stupid test? Not because of the test, but because they failed it. Blake, do you seriously want to marry a woman who can't see other people's pain? That's not the most important thing in marriage. It's important to me. Russell's voice becomes firmer. I won't give my blessing to the marriage if I don't respect your wife. Silence falls. I sense some old tension between father and son that has little to do with me. Do you respect me now? I ask Russell. I respect and approve of you. You have shown kindness without calculation. That is a rare quality, especially among people who want to enter our world. Dad, stop talking as if Marley is some kind of gold digger, Blake says irritably. That's not what I meant. But the fact remains that most girls are interested in you because of your family's money. Marley, on the other hand, he looks at me with a warm smile. I'm interested in Marley as a person. The rest of the dinner takes place in a much lighter atmosphere. Russell asks me about my job, my hobbies, my family. When I tell him about my mom, who worked as a cleaning lady to give me an education, he nods understandingly. I respect women like that. My mother also worked hard so that I could study. Blake is silent most of the time, clearly still upset about the test, but I feel that I have found some strange connection with his father. He is not as scary as I imagined. On the contrary, he is intelligent, attentive, and has a sense of humor. I hope you don't mind our wedding now, I ask, before leaving. Russell thinks for a moment. Marley, I'll be happy to have you in our family. You're exactly the daughter-in-law I dreamed of for Blake. Blake is silent for a long time in the car. When we drive out of the estate gates, he finally speaks. I'm sorry about my dad. He can be overly dramatic sometimes. I liked him, I say honestly. Really? Really. He's not what I expected. Blake gives me a strange look but says nothing. I look out the window and think about how I learned something very important today about my fiancé and his family. I just can't figure out what it is yet. 3 days after lunch at the estate, Russell calls. Marley? Sorry to bother you. Bother. Could you meet me for coffee? I'd like to talk to you privately. My heart skips a beat. Has he changed his mind about me? Of course. When is convenient for you? Tomorrow at 2? I know a cozy cafe on Maple Street. Blake reacts strangely when I tell him. Why does he want to meet with you? What are these mysterious conversations? I don't know. Maybe he wants to get to know me better? Marley, Dad can be intense. Don't let him pressure you or bombard you with weird questions. Weird? What do you mean? Well, he likes to ask people about their principles, their goals in life. All that philosophical stuff. Just nod and agree. Don't say too much. I look at Blake in surprise. In 3 years together, this is the first time I've seen him genuinely nervous about something involving his father. The cafe on Maple Street turns out to be a small, cozy place with wooden tables and the smell of fresh pastries. Russell is already sitting by the window reading the newspaper. In casual clothes, jeans, and a shirt, he looks younger and simpler. Thanks for coming, he says, standing up. What would you like to drink? A latte, please. When he returns from the cash register, he also brings 2 croissants. I hope you don't mind. They have very tasty pastries here. Thank you. Why did you want to talk to me? Russell is silent for a few seconds, carefully choosing his words. Marley, be honest. Are you happy with Blake? The question takes me by surprise. She was expecting a conversation about the wedding or family traditions, not this. Of course I'm happy. Why do you ask? Because I watched you two during lunch, and I saw, how should I put it, a certain tension on your son's part. Blake was just upset about that test. He was worried about me. Maybe. Russell takes a sip of coffee. Tell me, do you know what Blake does for a living? I pause. I don't really know. He says he works with investors. Something to do with business. Marley, my son has never worked a day in his life. The words hit me like a slap in the face. What? He lives off the money I give him. He always has. I hoped that getting married would make him grow up, but so far, that hasn't happened. But he talks about meetings, projects. Meetings at the gym with his friends. Projects or spending money on expensive toys. I feel something turning in my stomach. All those stories Blake tells me about important matters, about how he can't lose this client or that partner. Why are you telling me this? Because you have a right to know the truth about the man you're going to marry, and because I hope you can influence him better than I can. You want me to convince him to go to work? I want him to become the man you deserve. Russell leans forward. Marley, you are a smart, hard-working, responsible woman, and my son is used to getting everything handed to him. But he's a good man. He's caring, gentle. I'm sure he is. But is he ready to take responsibility for a family? For children? Will he be able to support you if I stop helping him tomorrow? These questions painfully strike at my deepest fears, which I have tried not to think about. Russell, maybe he just needs time? Marley, Blake is 32 years old. How much more time does he need? The rest of the meeting takes place in a lighter atmosphere. Russell talks about his youth, how he built his business, his mistakes and victories. He is interested in my thoughts, listens attentively, asks intelligent questions. He is easy to talk to. He doesn't try to teach or lecture me. He just shares his experience. If you don't mind, I'd like to stay in touch with you, he says before leaving. I enjoy talking to an intelligent person. I'm very pleased too. And Marley, don't tell Blake about our conversation. Not yet. Give yourself time to think it over. In the evening, Blake asks how the meeting went. Fine. He just wanted to get to know me better. That's it. He didn't ask about our plans, about the wedding. No, we talked more about books, about life in general. Strange, Blake mutters. Dad is usually more persistent. Over the next few weeks, Russell calls me twice a week. We discuss books. It turns out he reads a lot and has excellent taste. He talks about his travels and the interesting people he has met. He asks about my work, inquires about details, and gives me career advice. You could run an entire department, he says one day. You have all the qualities you need. Thank you, but I'm not ready for that kind of responsibility yet. Readiness is a myth, Marley. No one ever feels completely ready. The important thing is to have the courage to try. These conversations are bright spots in my days. With Russell, I feel smart, interesting, valuable. He never belittles my thoughts, never says I talk too much or think about things the wrong way. Blake notices these calls and gets more and more annoyed. Dad again? What do you talk about so much? All kinds of things. He's an interesting person. Marley, I don't like that he's using you. Using me? How? Well, he's lonely after Mom died looking for someone to talk to. But you're my girlfriend, not his pen pal. Blake, are you jealous of me and your father? I'm not jealous. I just don't understand why you've suddenly become so close. I'm starting to notice things I didn't notice before. Blake really never talks specifically about his work. When I ask for details, he changes the subject or says something general like difficult negotiations or challenging project. One morning, he says he's going to an important meeting with potential investors for the whole day. This could change everything, baby. If it works out, we can finally have a proper wedding. What kind of project is it? The construction of a shopping center. I don't want to go into details until the final decision is made. In the evening, when he returns, I ask how it went. Not very well. They want to think about it. We'll have to wait. But he doesn't look upset, more tired and somehow satisfied? A few days later, I happen to see him at the shopping center with a group of friends. They're laughing, playing pool, drinking beer, in the middle of the workday. On the day he told me he had an important meeting with the architects. I don't approach him. I don't make a scene. I just watch from the cafe across the street. Blake looks carefree and happy, like someone who isn't thinking about work, responsibility, or the future. In the evening, I ask, "How was the meeting with the architects?" "Long, boring. I could hardly wait for it to end," he says, without looking up from his phone. I start to notice the little things. Blake spends a lot of time on his phone. When I approach, he quickly hides the screen or switches to something else. Several times his phone rang late at night, and he went out onto the balcony to talk, saying it was work stuff. "Who was that?" I asked. "A partner from the West Coast. They're in a different time zone." But once I hear him say, "I can't right now," Marley's home, and his voice is gentle, not businesslike. Russell calls on Friday evening. "Marley, how are you? You sound kind of tired." "Everything's fine. Just a lot of work." "How's Blake? Did he finally find a job?" A long pause. I don't know how to respond. He says he's working on investment projects. I see. There is understanding in Russell's voice. "Marley, if you ever need to talk about anything, I'm always here to listen." "Thank you. That means a lot to me." On Saturday morning, Blake says he's going to his friend Marcus's for the day. I'm helping him move. I'll be back late. "Do you want me to come and help?" "No, don't bother. There'll be a lot of guys there. You'll be bored." Around lunchtime, I try to call him to ask if I should bring him lunch. His phone is off. At 5 in the evening, he finally calls. "Hi, sweetie. How are you? Where are you? I've been trying to call you all day. Sorry, my phone died and I didn't have a charger. We're almost done. I'll be there in an hour." But he doesn't come back until 9, fresh from a shower, smelling of expensive cologne that I didn't buy him. "It's been a long day," he says, kissing me on the cheek. "Marcus turned out to be a real jerk. Where did you take a shower?" "At Marcus's place. There was no air conditioning and I was sweating." The next day, when Blake is in the bathroom, his phone is lying on the bed. He never leaves it behind, always carries it with him. The screen is lit up. A message has arrived. I don't want to peek. I really don't. But something compels me to look. A message from Tia. "Yesterday was incredible. I hope to see you soon. I love you." My heart sinks somewhere into my stomach. My hands tremble as I scroll up through the conversation. Message after message, photos, plans to meet. The affair has been going on for at least a year and a half, judging by the dates. You said you would break up with her after New Year's. I hope we can be together officially soon. I can't hide anymore. I want everyone to know that you're mine. The last message from Blake. Hang in there a little longer. Marley is still useful to me. It will be easier to organize everything after the wedding. The phone slips out of my hands. I sit down on the bed and try to breathe. Useful. After the wedding, it will be easier to organize everything. What does that mean? Blake comes out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist. "What's wrong with you?" "You're as pale as a ghost." I look at him and don't recognize him. The same man who seemed like a prince 3 years ago. The same man who proposed to me in front of a restaurant full of people. The same man I plan to spend the rest of my life with. "Who is Tia?" I ask quietly. His face changes instantly. First shock, then anger. "Have you been looking through my phone?" He was lying on the bed. A message came in. It's not what you think. What is it, Blake? A long pause. He puts on his jeans without looking at me. It's hard to explain. Try. Tia, she's an old friend. We meet up sometimes to talk. She's going through a difficult divorce. 1.5 years of divorce? Marley, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. It's just friendship. I love you is friendship? Blake sits down on the edge of the bed and sighs heavily. Okay, we're seeing each other. But it doesn't mean anything. It's just fun. You know I love you and want to marry you. Fun? My voice rises. Affairs are fun. Marley, calm down. Lots of men do it. It doesn't mean I don't love you. Then what does that message about me being useful and how everything will be easier to arrange after the wedding mean? Blake turns pale. You misunderstood. Then explain it right. He stands up and paces the room like a caged animal. Marley, I was planning to tell you after the wedding. Tia, we really love each other, but I can't just break off our engagement. My dad will stop supporting me financially. So you were going to marry me for my dad's money? Not for the money. I love you too, in a different way, but I love you. I thought we could work things out after the wedding. Work things out how? Well, I thought you'd understand. Many wealthy men have wives and mistresses. It's normal in our circle. I look at him and realize that the last 3 years of my life have been a lie. Everything has been a lie. Get out, I say quietly. Marley, let's talk. Get out of this room. Now. But this is my apartment. Then I'll leave. But first, get out of here while I pack my things. Blake stands there for a few seconds, then turns abruptly and leaves, slamming the door loudly. I sit on the bed and look at the diamond ring on my finger. It doesn't seem beautiful anymore. Now it looks like a chain. I pack my things into a bag, my hands shaking so much that I can't zip it up. Tears blur my vision, preventing me from seeing what I'm taking with me. The main thing is to get out of here. Blake walks into the room as I pull the last few things out of the closet. Marley, don't be a child. Let's discuss this like adults. I don't look at him. I keep packing. What is there to discuss? You've been lying to me for 1.5 years. I wasn't lying to anyone. I just didn't tell you everything. That's different. I stop and look at him. There is no remorse or shame on his face. Only irritation. Are you serious? You call cheating not telling you everything? Marley, you've always been too naive. Adult life isn't as simple as your romantic fantasies. Naive? My voice breaks. I'm naive because I believed my fiancé loved me? I love you. He comes closer. Just not the way you want me to. Tia is passion, excitement, and you are reliability, comfort. I need both. Reliability and comfort? Blake, I'm not a couch. Don't twist my words. I meant that you're stable, predictable. I feel calm with you. Every word hits like a slap. Stable, predictable, calm. And Tia is unpredictable? Tia. She's crazy, vibrant, spontaneous. She makes me feel alive. And with me, I feel dead? Blake sighs as if I'm a stubborn child who doesn't understand the obvious. Marley, lots of women want to be with me. Bright, beautiful, exciting. But I chose you to marry. That means something, doesn't it? Yes, it does. It means you chose me because I'm useful. Not only that, you are kind, hardworking, and will be a good mother. Dad approved of you. These are important qualities for a wife. For a wife, but not for a lover? Exactly. You finally understand. I look at him and realize that he really doesn't understand why I'm upset. For him, it's logical and natural to have a wife for status and a mistress for pleasure. Blake, what if you found out I had a lover? His face instantly darkens. That's a completely different matter. Why? Because you're a woman. Women are supposed to be faithful. And men aren't? Marley, don't play dumb. You know perfectly well that men and women are different. We have different needs. What need makes you lie to me every day for a year and a half? I wasn't lying. I just didn't tell you the details. You wouldn't understand. Understand what? That my fiancé despises me? I don't despise you. Blake loses his patience. God, how can you twist everything around like that? I offered you a wonderful life, a beautiful apartment, expensive clothes, a prestigious wedding, and you're throwing a tantrum over some nonsense. Nonsense. Your betrayal is nonsense. It's not betrayal, just an additional relationship. Many successful men live this way. Maybe many, but I don't agree to live this way. Then you're stupid. Where else will you find a man like me? Who will look at you after you turn 30? You're just an ordinary girl from an ordinary family, and I offered you a chance to enter high society. These words finish me off. I grab my bag and head for the door. Wait, where are you going? None of your business. Marley, come back in a week when you've calmed down. Then we'll talk properly. No. What do you mean, no? I'm not coming back. Ever. Don't you dare leave me, he shouts after me. You're nothing without me. Nothing. I leave the apartment and close the door. In the elevator, I allow myself to cry. On the street, I take out my phone with trembling hands. I don't know who to call. My mom lives 2 hours away, my friend Carrie. I've hardly spoken to her in the last 2 years. My coworkers? We're not that close. I dial Russell's number. I don't know why, but I feel like he's the only one who can understand me. Hello? Russell, it's Marley. Sorry to bother you so late. Marley? What happened? Your voice sounds... Can I come over? I don't know who else to turn to. Of course. Come right away. Do you know the address? I know it. Drive carefully. I'll be waiting. The drive to the estate takes 40 minutes. I cry the whole time, but I try to focus on driving. I think about the last 3 years, and everything takes on new meaning. How Blake gradually isolated me from my friends and family. How he humiliated me under the guise of caring. How he made me feel like I wasn't good enough for him. Russell is waiting at the door when I pull up. He's wearing a bathrobe and slippers with a concerned look on his face. Marley, sweetie, what happened? I get out of the car with my bag and collapse into his arms. I'm crying so hard I can't speak. There, he says, hugging me like a father. Come inside. Tell me everything when you're ready. He leads me into the living room and sits down next to me on the sofa. Would you like some tea? Or something stronger? Tea, please. He goes to the kitchen, and I sit in his huge living room and try to calm down. It's warm and cozy here, smelling of wood and old books. Family photos hang on the walls, Russell with his wife, little Blake on a swing, family trips. Here, says Russell, returning with tea. Now tell me what he did. I tell him everything. About the correspondence with Tia, about the fact that the affair has been going on for a year and a half, about the conversation with Blake and his reaction. Russell listens silently, only sighing heavily from time to time. My God, he says when I finish. Marley, I'm so ashamed. I raised a monster. It's not your fault. Mine. I gave him too much, too easily. I thought that love and money would make him a good person, but it turned out the opposite. He says that many men do this, that it's normal. That's a lie. Maybe some people live that way, but it's not normal and it's not acceptable. And the way he talked to you... Russell clenches his fists. That's disrespectful not only to you, but to all women. Maybe he's right. Maybe I really am too naive. Marley, look at me. Russell takes my hands. You're not naive. You're trusting, honest, open. Those are wonderful qualities, and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. But he said I'm boring, predictable. Is that a bad thing? Is it bad to be a reliable person who can be counted on? Marley, my son doesn't appreciate true treasures, but that's his loss, not yours. I cry again, but now they are tears of relief, not pain. What should I do now? First, rest. You're staying here today. I have plenty of rooms, and you need time to think things through. I can't impose on you. No imposition at all. On the contrary, I'll be happy to take care of you. Russell leads me to a guest room on the second floor. It's a large room with a fireplace, a comfortable bed, and a private bathroom. Rest. If you need anything, call me. Tomorrow morning, we'll talk about practical matters. I lie down on the soft bed and fall asleep peacefully for the first time in many weeks. I feel safe. I wake up to the smell of fried bacon and coffee. I go down to the kitchen. Russell is making breakfast. Good morning. How did you sleep? Very well, thank you. Great. Sit down. Let's eat and discuss your plans. Over breakfast, he asks about my job, housing, finances. It turns out that when I moved to Blake, I rented out my apartment. The tenants still live there. So you need temporary housing. I have friends who are renting out a nice apartment in the center. I can arrange it. Russell, you've already done so much for me. Marley, I consider you my daughter, and daughters need help in difficult times. At noon, Blake arrives. I hear him talking loudly with his father in the living room. Where is she? I know Marley is here. Yes, she's here, and she'll stay until she wants to leave. Dad, she's my girlfriend. You have no right to interfere in our relationship. Ex-girlfriend, and I have the right to protect her from you. Protect her? From what? From your manipulation, lies, and disrespect. I go downstairs. Blake looks angry. His hair is tousled, his shirt is wrinkled. Marley, finally, get ready, we're going home. This isn't my home, I say calmly. What? Of course it is. We're engaged. I take the diamond ring off my finger and place it on the table. We're not engaged anymore. You can't break off an engagement over something so trivial. Betrayal is not trivial. God, not again. Marley, I explained it to you yesterday. This is normal for men of our status. Russell comes over and stands next to me. Blake, you're talking to a lady. Watch your tone. Dad, don't interfere. This is our business. It's not your business anymore. Marley broke up with you, and I support her. You support her against me? Against your own son? Russell looks at Blake for a long time, and I see pain in his eyes. Son, I love you, but I don't respect you. You're acting like a selfish child, not a grown man. I'm a selfish child? Who made me that way? Who gave me everything I wanted? My mistake. I thought love and wealth would make you a good person, but I was wrong. So now it's all my fault? Blake, you betrayed the woman who loved you. You lied to her for 1.5 years, and when she found out the truth, you humiliated and insulted her. That was your choice, not mine. But I said I was ready to marry her. Not for her sake, but for my money. Blake is silent for a few seconds, then smiles coldly. All right. But without Marley, you'll stop financing me, right? Yes. Then choose either me or her. Russell doesn't hesitate for a second. Her. Blake turns pale. He clearly didn't expect that answer. You're giving up your own son for some woman? I'm giving up funding someone who doesn't respect others. When you learn how to behave like a decent man, we'll talk. And until then, find a job and live on your own money. Blake looks at his father with hatred. You'll regret this. Maybe. But right now, I'm proud of my decision. Blake turns to me. And you, Marley, will regret it too. Without me, you're worthless. You'll go back to your boring job, your boring apartment, your boring life. And in 1 year or 2, you'll beg me to come back. No, I say firmly. I won't beg. He leaves, slamming the door loudly. Russell comes over and hugs me. Is it hard for you? No, it's easy. For the first time in 3 years, it's very easy. I stay with Russell for 3 more days. He helps me find an apartment. He actually finds a great place in the center at a reasonable price. He helps me move my things from Blake's apartment. Blake doesn't even show up when we arrive. Russell, how can I thank you? You can't? Just be happy. That's the best thanks. I call my mom and tell her everything. She cries on the phone. My dear, I'm so sorry. But you know what? I never liked that Blake. There was something wrong with him. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened? You were so in love. She's right, I wouldn't have listened. I call Carrie. She's crying too, but with joy. Finally. Marley, I loved you so much and was so worried that you were changing for the worse with him. I'm sorry I disappeared. He convinced me that you were jealous of me. Jealous? On the contrary, I was worried that you were unhappy. I'm moving into a new apartment. It's small but cozy, with large windows and a balcony. Russell is helping with the furniture. He says he has some extra stuff in his warehouse after renovating his office. These aren't spare things, I say, looking at the beautiful sofa and oak table. This is expensive furniture. Spare for me, but necessary for you. Take it as a housewarming gift. Russell calls every day to ask how things are going. We talk about books, work, and life again. Now I don't have to hide these conversations from Blake. How are you feeling? He asks a week after the move. Strange, but good. I didn't expect that. Why strange? Well, I lost my fiancé, my home, the future I had planned. Marley, you haven't lost your future. You've made room for a better future. Maybe he's right. For the first time in 3 years, I decide for myself what to watch, what to eat, who to talk to. And this feeling of freedom is more intoxicating than the most expensive champagne. 6 months of loneliness pass unnoticed. At first, I thought that without Blake, life would become empty and sad, but it turned out to be the opposite. I rediscovered myself. I read books that I've wanted to read for a long time, but Blake said they were too serious for me. I go to the theater and museums alone, and it's wonderful. I'm renewing my friendship with Carrie and seeing my mom from time to time. I'm signing up for Italian language classes simply because I've always wanted to. You're blossoming, Russell says during one of our weekly lunches. You look younger and happier. Thank you. I really do feel better. How's work? Is your boss still putting you down? I told him about my manager who constantly checks my work and treats me like an unskilled intern, even though I've been with the company for 5 years. Same as always. Yesterday, he said I was too slow at processing reports. But in reality, I'm the fastest in the department. He just likes to assert himself at my expense. Russell is silent for a few seconds, thinking about something. Marley, I want to make you an offer. I have an opening for a chief accountant at one of our subsidiaries. The salary is twice as high, the team is young and friendly, and there are opportunities for growth. Russell, I can't accept this offer. Why? Because it will look like you're helping me out of pity. People will think I got the job because of personal connections. First, I'm not offering you this job out of pity, but because you are a qualified professional. Second, who says personal connections are a bad thing? Half of all successful people got their jobs through connections. But I want to prove my worth on my own. Marley, you've already proven yourself. 5 years of excellent work in poor conditions is a resume, and now I'm just offering you a platform for development. I think about it for a week and agree. Not because I'm struggling financially, but because I really want new challenges. Thornfield Development specializes in residential construction. The office is modern, bright, with panoramic windows and green plants everywhere. The staff is really young. Most employees are between 25 and 35 years old. My new office is 3 times larger than the previous one, with its own coffee machine and a view of the park. The accounting team consists of 4 experienced employees who, to my surprise, are happy to have a new manager. The previous chief accountant was terrible. Linda, the senior accountant, whispers to me. He yelled at everyone and did everything the old-fashioned way. You seem like a normal person. I spend the first week studying the documentation and familiarizing myself with the procedures. The work is more interesting than I expected. The company is building not just housing, but entire neighborhoods with infrastructure, parks, and playgrounds. On Thursday, I am invited to a general meeting of the project team. a large conference room, a dozen or so people, a presentation of a new residential complex on the screen. "Let me introduce our new chief accountant," says the director, Marley Coleman. "Marley, tell us a little about yourself." I stand up and briefly introduce myself. When I sit down, I notice that the man opposite me is looking at me intently. He is tall, broad-shouldered, with blonde hair and brown eyes. He looks about 30 years old. He is dressed simply: jeans, a shirt, no tie. After the meeting, he approaches me. "Hi, Kyle Brooker, project manager. Nice to meet you, Marley. Likewise. How do you like your new job?" "I like it so far, although there's still a lot I don't understand." "That's normal. If you have any questions about the projects, feel free to ask. I've been here for 3 years. I know all the pitfalls." His smile is sincere and friendly, without any hidden meaning. It's my first conversation with a man in 6 months that doesn't cause anxiety or discomfort. Over the next few weeks, we often cross paths at work. Kyle really helps. He explains the specifics of the projects, introduces me to contractors, and tells me the history of the company. It turns out that he started here as an ordinary assistant and worked his way up to a management position thanks to his persistence and intelligence. "What did you do before that?" I ask during one of our work conversations. "I worked in construction from the age of 16. My father is a bricklayer, my mother is a school cleaner. I got my education through distance learning, combining it with work." "Was it difficult?" "Very. But there was no alternative. I wanted a better life for myself and my future family." "Do you have a family?" "Not yet. I was married, but it didn't work out. She wanted a Prince Charming, and I offered to work together on our future." I understand that Kyle is my opposite to Blake. Blake got everything ready-made, while Kyle earned everything with his own hands. Blake despised people of the lower class, while Kyle remembers his origins and is not ashamed of them. During project meetings, I notice how Kyle interacts with people. He treats everyone with respect, from the cleaning lady to the director. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't belittle anyone. He always says please and thank you. "You're very polite," I say to him after another meeting. "How could it be otherwise? Every person deserves respect. Not everyone thinks so." Then they lack manners. One day, Kyle invites me for coffee after work. "Don't get me wrong," he says, a little embarrassed. "I just think we get along well, and I'd like to get to know you better." "As colleagues?" "As colleagues at first. We'll see how it goes." We go to a small cafe near the office. Kyle tells me about himself, about his childhood in a working-class neighborhood, his brother who is a mechanic, his dream of building at least one house entirely on his own. "And you? What brought you to accounting?" I tell him my story, leaving out the details about Blake. I just say that I recently ended a long-term relationship. That's too bad. Although, on the other hand, his loss is my gain in getting to know you. "Are you flirting with me, Mr. Brocker?" "I'm trying." "Did it work?" I laugh. I haven't laughed so sincerely in a long time. It worked a little. We start seeing each other after work. Not romantic dates, just pleasant conversations. Kyle doesn't pressure me or try to impress me with expensive restaurants or gifts. We go to the movies, to exhibitions, just walk in the park. "I feel comfortable with you," I tell him after a month of such meetings. "I feel comfortable with you. In a good way. I can be myself without trying to pretend to be someone else." I realize that this is exactly what I was missing with Blake, the opportunity to be myself. Russell notices the change in my mood. "You seem even happier. Did something good happen?" I tell him about Kyle. Russell listens attentively. "I'd like to meet him. Actually, he's your employee." "I know, but I'm more interested in people than colleagues." I arrange a meeting. Kyle is nervous at first. Understandably, meeting the big boss is not an everyday occurrence. But Russell quickly lightens the mood by asking about projects and sharing memories of his early days in construction. "He's a smart guy," Russell tells me after the meeting, and most importantly, he's genuine. "Marley, you made the right choice this time. We're just friends for now. for now. But I can see how he looks at you and how you look at him. After 6 months of friendship, Kyle takes the first step. Marley, I don't want to ruin our relationship, but I have to say I like you, not just as a friend, and I like you. Really? Really? But I'm scared. Of what? Of making the same mistake again. Of trusting the wrong person. Kyle takes my hand. I'm not asking you to trust me right away. Give me a chance to earn your trust gradually. We start dating officially, and it's completely different from Blake. Kyle doesn't try to change me, control me, or isolate me. On the contrary, he encourages me to socialize with friends, visit my mom, and pursue my hobbies. I want you to be happy, he says, and happiness is when a person can be themselves. A year later, Kyle proposes, not in a fancy restaurant, but at home, after a normal evening with a movie and pizza. Marley, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you be my wife? The ring is simple, without a huge diamond, but beautiful and elegant. Yes, I say without hesitation. Seriously? Seriously, I'm ready. We have a small wedding, 50 guests in a cozy country restaurant. Russell insists on giving me away. You have a father, I say, a biological father. Russell is my father in my heart. It's an honor, Russell says when I ask him. On the day of the wedding, as Russell walks me down the aisle, he whispers, I'm proud of you, daughter. Thank you for everything. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for reminding me what true decency is. Kyle waits at the altar with such a sincere smile that my heart is filled with happiness. When the priest asks if I take this man to be my husband, I answer firmly, I do. And I know that this time it's right. A year after the wedding, Kyle and I buy a small house in the suburbs. Kyle gets a promotion and now heads an entire department. I head the finance department for the entire company. We work well as a team, Russell says at a celebratory dinner to mark my appointment. In every sense, Kyle adds, taking my hand. Russell often visits us. We have become a real family. Not perfect, but sincere and loving. We hear about Blake occasionally through Russell. At first, he tried to live on his own, getting an unofficial job with a friend. Then he started gambling at the casino, hoping to make a quick buck. He lost everything he had, even selling his car and expensive things. Where is he now, I ask. In a rehabilitation center. He's being treated for gambling addiction. I pay for the treatment, but nothing else. And Tia? She left him when she found out he had no money. She married another rich man. It doesn't hurt me to hear this. It's more sad. For the time that was wasted, for the illusions that had to be dispelled. Have you forgiven him? I ask Russell. I have forgiven him. But he hasn't earned my trust yet. Maybe when he really changes, we can restore our relationship. 2 years after the wedding, I find out I'm pregnant. Kyle cries with happiness, and Russell buys baby clothes even before we find out the sex of the child. Am I going to be a grandfather? He asks with such hope in his voice. Yes, you are. The best grandfather in the world. I sit on the terrace of our house, looking at the garden that Kyle and I planted with our own hands. My belly is already big, and the baby is kicking actively. Kyle reads in a hammock, occasionally looking at me and smiling. I think about how my life has changed in 5 years. Back then, desperately trying to save my relationship with Blake, I couldn't imagine that things could be different, that it was possible to love and be loved without humiliation, manipulation, and deception. What are you thinking about? Kyle asks, sitting down next to me. How lucky I am. Me too. He puts his hand on my belly, and the baby immediately kicks in response. Hi, baby, Kyle whispers. We're really looking forward to meeting you. Russell calls. How are you, kids? Great. How are you? Blake finished rehab. He found a job as an assistant manager at a small construction company. He says he wants to start over. Do you believe him? I want to believe him. Time will tell. Are you happy? Very. I have a daughter, a son-in-law, and soon a grandson or granddaughter. What more could an old man want? You're not old, Russell. You make me feel young. In the evening, Kyle and I go to bed, and as always, he wishes me and the baby good night separately. I love you both, he whispers in the dark, and we love you. I fall asleep with a smile on my lips. Life can really be simple and happy if you have the right people around you, and I do.